Previously, on part 4. 2 years after baby Arya's birth, the Kang family had finally found peace. Ji-ho was 20 years old, hardened by loss but learning to live again. Until a phone call shattered everything. Alexis Chen, the black American woman who'd pulled him from a burning SUV 2 years ago and vanished without a trace, was back in Seoul, hunted, desperate, screaming. The line went dead. The family mobilized immediately. Now, in the pre-dawn darkness of a Busan warehouse district, the rescue was already in motion. The warehouse stank of rust, old blood, and the kind of fear that seeped into concrete and never left. Ji-ho pressed his back against the corrugated metal wall, the Glock 19 heavy and familiar in his right hand. Through a gap in the broken window above his head, he could see shadows moving inside. 4 guards, maybe 5, all carrying automatic weapons. And somewhere in that maze of shipping containers and industrial debris, Alexis was bleeding. "East entrance secure," Dae-jung's voice crackled in his earpiece. 3 hostiles down, waiting on your signal." Ji-ho didn't respond immediately. He was counting heartbeats, mapping the building in his mind from the thermal imaging they'd taken an hour ago. The guards rotated every 90 seconds. He had a window, small, closing fast, to breach without alerting the entire complex. Beside him, Hyun-woo adjusted the suppressor on his rifle. The older man's face was stone, professional. He'd been shot protecting Ji-ho 2 years ago. Nearly died. Now he was back, ready to kill for the family again. That's what loyalty looked like in their world. "We go on 3, Ji-ho said quietly. His voice had changed in 2 years. Deeper, colder. The voice of someone who'd watched his first love die saving him and learned that sentiment was a luxury he couldn't afford. "Loud and fast, no prisoners." "You sure about that?" Hyun-woo asked. "We might need one alive for questioning." They tortured her for 2 days trying to get information she didn't give up. Ji-ho's jaw tightened. "They don't deserve mercy." Through the earpiece, his father's voice cut in. "Ji-ho, remember the objective, extract Alexis. Everything else is secondary." "Copy." But Ji-ho's finger was already tightening on the trigger. The objective was extraction. The bonus was making sure none of these bastards ever hurt anyone again. He thought about that night 2 years ago. Waking up in Alexis's apartment, zip-tied to a chair, head wound bleeding, shoulders screaming. She could have left him in that burning SUV, could have kept walking. Instead, she'd risked everything to save a stranger. Deaths like that didn't get forgotten. 3, Ji-ho breathed. 2, 1. He kicked the door open and went through low and fast. The first guard turned toward the noise, weapon rising, but Ji-ho was already firing. 2 shots center mass. The man dropped. Hyun-woo came through behind him, rifle up, taking the second, guard with a 3-round burst that stitched from groin to throat. The warehouse exploded into chaos. "Contact! East side!" someone shouted in Korean, and suddenly there were muzzle flashes everywhere, bullets sparking off metal containers. Ji-ho rolled behind a forklift, popped up, dropped another guard with a headshot. Hyun-woo was moving like water, flowing from cover to cover, each shot surgical and final. 4th hostile down, Dae-jung reported from the east entrance, his voice calm despite the gunfire. Pushing to the main floor, Ji-ho's tactical training took over. He wasn't thinking anymore, just reacting. Movement to his left. He pivoted, fired twice, and a man in tactical gear collapsed. Someone tried to flank from the right. Hyun-woo saw it first, put him down with a shot through the temple. 7 down, maybe 8. The intel had said 12 to 15 hostiles total. "Amara's tracking says Alexis is in the northeast corner," Min-jae's voice came through. "Second level. Heavy heat signature suggests she's alive but not mobile." Alive. That's all Ji-ho needed to hear. He reloaded on the move, muscle memory from 10,000 hours of training. His father had made sure he knew how to do this. Not just shoot, but fight, survive, win. After Hana died, Ji-ho had thrown himself into becoming a weapon. It was easier than feeling. A guard appeared at the top of the metal stairs leading to the second level. Jiho shot him in the knee, then the chest as he fell. The body tumbled down the stairs and Jiho stepped over it without pause. 9 down, he muttered into the comm. The second level was darker, lit only by emergency lights that cast everything in sickly green. Jiho moved with his weapon up, checking corners, clearing angles. Behind him, Hyunwoo and Daejung formed a wedge, covering his flanks. He heard her before he saw her. A woman's voice, speaking English with an American accent. Weak. Pained. I already told you, I don't have it. It's encrypted. Cloud storage. You'll never... Then a man's voice, cold and professional. We have time, Ms. Chen, and we have ways of making you more cooperative. Something in Jiho's chest twisted. He'd heard that tone before. The voice of someone who enjoyed inflicting pain. He rounded the corner and saw them. 3 men in military contractor gear. Body armor, tactical vests, professional weapons. One was holding a cattle prod. The other 2 had assault rifles slung over their shoulders. And between them, zip-tied to a metal chair with blood running down her face from a split eyebrow, was Alexis. She looked different than he remembered. Thinner. Harder. Her short natural hair was matted with blood and sweat. Her left eye was swollen shut, burns on her arms from the cattle prod. But when she lifted her head and saw him, something fierce sparked in her remaining good eye. Recognition. You, she whispered. You came. Told you I owed you, Jiho said. Then he shot the man with the cattle prod in the face. The other 2 went for their weapons, but Jiho was faster. 2 shots. 2 bodies dropping. Behind him, Hyunwoo and Daejung were already clearing the rest of the floor, gunfire echoing through the warehouse. Jiho moved to Alexis, pulling a knife from his belt and cutting through the zip ties. She nearly collapsed forward, but he caught her, supporting her weight. Can you walk? Can you carry me if I can? There was a hint of her old spirit in the question. Yeah, but walking would be faster. She managed a bloody smile. Then I can walk. 12 down, Daejung shouted from across the floor. 3 more running for the south exit. Let them run, Minjae's voice commanded. Extract Alexis now. Police response time is 6 minutes. You have 4. Jiho pulled Alexis's arm over his shoulders, taking most of her weight. She smelled like blood, an industrial cleaner, and underneath it all, something floral. Perfume, maybe, from before they'd grabbed her. A reminder that she'd been living a normal life before this nightmare. Why'd you come back to Seoul? He asked as they moved toward the stairs. Hyunwoo was ahead, clearing the path. Daejung covered their rear. Didn't have anywhere else to go, Alexis said through gritted teeth. Every step was obviously agony. Thought maybe Seoul was far enough away. Guess I was wrong. Who are they? Later, get me out of here first. They made it down the stairs, across the warehouse floor, now littered with bodies, and out into the pre-dawn air. 3 black SUVs were waiting, engines running. Minjae stood beside the lead vehicle, his expensive suit somehow still immaculate despite coordinating a military operation. When he saw Alexis's condition, his expression darkened. Get her to the safe house. Dr. Yoon is standing by. Jiho helped Alexis into the back seat, sliding in beside her. She sagged against the leather interior, breathing hard. Now that the adrenaline was fading, the pain was hitting her fully. Thank you, she said quietly. I didn't think anyone would come. Didn't think anyone even knew I was in trouble. You saved my life. Jiho's voice was flat, matter of fact. That's not something I forget. You were 18 and broken and bleeding. I just did what anyone would do. No, Jiho looked at her directly. You did what almost no one would do. And now we're even. Alexis studied him in the dim interior light. You're different than I remember. Harder. 2 years changes people. What happened to you? Jiho thought about Hana's blood on his hands, the way her eyes had looked at him in those final seconds, full of love and apology. The months after where he'd become something his father barely recognized, a weapon without a conscience, a warrior without mercy. Life happened, he said finally. Same as you, I'm guessing. The SUV pulled away from the warehouse, tires squealing. Behind them, Hyunwoo and Daejung's vehicles followed in tight formation. Through the rear window, Ji-ho could see smoke rising from the warehouse. Someone had set charges, evidence disposal. They'd done this enough times to have the protocol down. Alexis's head dropped onto his shoulder. Not romantic, just exhaustion and pain, and the desperate human need to feel safe after trauma. Ji-ho stiffened slightly, unused to physical contact that wasn't violent. But he didn't pull away. "I've been running for 2 years," Alexis said softly. "Country to country, city to city, always looking over my shoulder. I'm so tired of running." "Then stop." Ji-ho's voice held a certainty he'd learned from his father. "Stay in Seoul. Let us handle whatever's chasing you." "You don't even know what you're offering." "I don't care. You're under our protection now. Anyone who wants to hurt you goes through us first." "Your father won't agree to that. This isn't some local gang dispute. These are people with reach, with resources, military contractors, government connections. If you protect me, they'll come after your family too." Ji-ho thought about his baby sister Arya, now 2 years old, sleeping safely in the penthouse with his stepmother Amara watching over her. He thought about everything his father had built, everything they'd survived. The Song family, Park Ji-woo, every enemy that had tried to destroy them. "Let them come," he said. "We've handled worse." If you're loving this story so far, hit that subscribe button. This is Afro-Korean Story Hub, where we bring you the most intense love stories you've never seen before. Part 5 just started and it's already explosive. Drop a heart in the comments if you're hooked. The safe house was in Gangnam, tucked behind layers of legitimate businesses that Min Jae owned. From the outside, it looked like a luxury apartment building. Inside, it was a fortress. Reinforced walls, panic rooms, enough security to protect a head of state. Dr. Yoon was waiting in the medical suite, her face a mask of professional concern. She was one of the few people outside the family who knew everything and chose to stay anyway. Loyalty bought with decades of respect and substantial compensation. "Get her on the table," Dr. Yoon ordered, pulling on latex gloves. "How long ago was she injured?" "Tortured for 2 days, according to her captors," Ji-ho said, helping Alexis onto the examination table. "Cattle prod burns, possible internal injuries, definitely concussion." Dr. Yoon's lips thinned. "Everyone out except Mr. Kang, I'll need assistance." Min Jae stepped forward, rolling up his sleeves. Ji-ho hesitated at the door, looking back at Alexis. Her good eye found his. "I'll be fine," she said. "Go. Rest. You just killed like 15 people for me. That's exhausting." 17, Ji-ho corrected. "And I'm not tired." Liar. Despite everything. He almost smiled. "I'll be right outside." In the hallway, Hyunwoo and Daejung were debriefing with the security team. Ji-ho leaned against the wall, suddenly feeling every hour of the sleepless night. His hands were still steady. They always were after action. But his mind was starting to process what they'd just done. 17 dead. Quick math said he'd personally killed 12 of them. The others had been Hyunwoo and Daejung's work. Efficient, clinical, necessary. He didn't feel guilty. That was the problem. Or maybe the solution. 2 years ago, killing Hana's father had destroyed something in him. Now killing was just work. A task completed. Bodies were just obstacles removed. Amara appeared at the end of the hallway, moving quickly despite her age. At 40, she was still formidable. The woman who'd taken 4 bullets for him when he was 8, who'd built an intelligence network in secret, who'd fought beside his father through every crisis. But now, there was something softer in her face, something maternal that hadn't been there before Arya was born. "Is she safe?" Amara asked. "Dr. Yoon is treating her now." "And you?" "I'm fine." Amara studied him with the too knowing gaze of someone who'd seen him at his worst and loved him anyway. "You're covered in blood." Ji-ho looked down at his tactical gear. She was right. Splatter from close-range headshots. "It's not mine. That's not what I asked." Amara pulled him into a brief, fierce hug. She smelled like the jasmine shampoo she'd been using for years, like safety and home and everything uncomplicated. You did good tonight. She's alive because of you. I owed her. Debts aren't why you went in there like you did. You could have sent a team. Instead, you led them yourself, first through the door, taking the highest risk. Amara pulled back, hands on his shoulders. You care about her, even if you don't want to admit it yet. I don't even know her. You knew her enough to remember her face for 2 years, enough to search for her in every crowd, enough to drop everything the second she needed help. Amara's voice was gentle but firm. It's okay to feel something again, Jiho. Hana wouldn't want you frozen forever. Jiho pulled away from the conversation because it was getting too close to truths he wasn't ready to examine. I need to clean up, change clothes, check the perimeter. The perimeter is secure. You have 15 guards on rotation and every entrance monitored. What you need is sleep. I'll sleep when she's stable. Amara sighed but didn't push. She knew him well enough to recognize when pushing would just make him dig in harder. Fine, but eat something. You're no good to anyone if you collapse. She left, and Jiho was alone with his thoughts. Dangerous territory. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through the messages. Several from his father about the operation. One from his aunt checking in. Nothing from anyone who actually knew him well enough to ask how he was doing. Which was fine. He preferred it that way. The door to the medical suite opened and Minjae emerged, sleeves still rolled up, a spot of blood on his collar. She's stable. Dr. Yoon wants to keep her sedated for the next 6 hours, while the worst of the swelling goes down. Second-degree burns on her arms and torso. 3 cracked ribs, concussion. She'll recover, but it'll take time. Did she say anything? About who took her? Not yet. Dr. Yoon administered a sedative before we could ask questions. Minjae studied his son. You should rest. We'll debrief when she wakes up. I'm not tired. You're exhausted. I can see it. Minjae's voice softened slightly. You did well tonight, but even warriors need to recover between battles. And something tells me this isn't over. Whoever took her will realize she's been extracted. They'll come looking. Let them. We'll be ready. Jiho. His father stepped closer, voice dropping. Why did you really go in there first? Why take point on the breach? Because I'm the best shot. Daejung is a better shot, and you know it. Minjae crossed his arms. This is about debt, yes, but it's also about something else. Something you're not saying. Jiho met his father's eyes. She pulled me out of a burning car when she had every reason to run. She didn't know me. Didn't owe me. She just saw someone in trouble and helped. That kind of person is rare in our world. Worth protecting. Agreed, but that doesn't explain why your hands were shaking when you carried her out. Were they? Jiho hadn't noticed. He looked down at his hands now, rock steady, as always. But maybe in the SUV holding her weight, feeling her breath against his neck, something had cracked in the ice he'd built around himself. I'm going to check the security feeds, Jiho said, ending the conversation by walking away. Behind him, Minjae said quietly, She looks like her, you know. Not physically, but the way she carries herself. That defiance, even when she's broken. You're drawn to the same kind of strength that killed Hana. Jiho kept walking. Alexis woke up 16 hours later screaming. Jiho was in the security room when the alert came through. Motion sensors in her room. Elevated heart rate on the medical monitor. He was moving before he consciously decided to, taking the stairs 2 at a time. When he burst through the door, Alexis was sitting up in bed, breathing hard, eyes wild. Dr. Yoon was trying to calm her, but Alexis had grabbed a scalpel from the medical tray and was holding it defensively. Hey, Jiho said, hands up, non-threatening. You're safe, you're in Seoul. Safe house, remember? Alexis's eyes darted to him, recognition slowly filtering through the panic. Jiho. Yeah, it's me. You're safe. Put down the scalpel. Where am I? Gangnam, my father's safe house. You've been unconscious for 16 hours. Dr. Yoon's been treating your injuries. He took a slow step closer. You're safe, I promise. Alexis looked at the scalpel in her hand like she was surprised to see it there. She set it down carefully. Sorry, I woke up and didn't know. It's fine, understandable. Jiho nodded to Dr. Yoon, who backed away to give them space. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. Alexis touched her swollen eye gingerly. How bad is it? You'll heal. Cracked ribs, burns, concussion. Nothing permanent. Great. I'll add it to my collection. She tried to smile but winced. Everything hurts. I'll get you something stronger for the pain. No, the word was sharp. No sedatives, I need to stay alert. They could find me. They won't. This location is off the grid. 15 guards, biometric security, the whole place is a fortress. You're as safe as you can be. Alexis sagged back against the pillows, some of the fight draining out of her. You shouldn't have come for me. You should have let them kill me. Not an option. You don't understand what you've gotten yourself into. These people, they're not like your Korean gang rivals. They're international, military. They have resources and connections that we've handled international threats before. Not like this. Alexis's good eye fixed on him. They killed my father. He was a decorated officer, surrounded by security, living on a military base. They made it look like suicide and nobody questioned it. Nobody except me. Tell me what happened. Jiho pulled a chair close to the bed, sitting. From the beginning. Everything. Alexis was quiet for a long moment, deciding how much to trust him. Finally, she started talking. My father was Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Chen, Army Special Forces, 22 years of service. He was stationed in Afghanistan, then Syria, then a rotation back to the States at Fort Bragg. 6 months before he died, he started acting strange, paranoid. He told my mother he'd seen something he shouldn't have, documents, money transfers, a weapons deal that didn't go through official channels. Black ops? Worse, treason. High-ranking military officials were selling American weapons to enemy forces, not just small arms, major hardware, anti-aircraft missiles, encrypted communication systems. My father documented everything, took photos of the files, downloaded transaction records. He was going to blow the whistle. Jiho leaned forward. They killed him before he could. They made it look perfect. Gunshot wound, his own service weapon, note about PTSD. The army bought it, the media bought it, everyone bought it except me and my mom. Alexis's voice cracked. I knew he wouldn't do that. He'd been through hell and back in combat. If he was going to break, it wouldn't have been in a quiet office on a Tuesday afternoon. So you investigated. I found his backup drive, everything he'd documented, names, dates, account numbers, intercepted communications, proof that some of our highest-ranking military officials were committing treason for profit. She laughed bitterly. I was 20, years old and stupid. I thought I could just take it to the FBI or the Inspector General. Thought someone would care. They didn't. They tried to bury it, and when I wouldn't let it go, when I kept pushing, they decided burying me was easier. Alexis touched the burns on her arm, tracing the pattern. I've been running for 2 years, changed my name 4 times, lived in 6 countries, always one step ahead until Seoul. I thought I'd finally gotten far enough away. But they found me. Do you still have the evidence? Flash drive, encrypted. I hid it before they grabbed me. Where? Why? So you can turn it over and make a deal? So we can use it. Jiho held her gaze. You've been running because you're alone, one person against an organization. But you're not alone anymore. My father has connections, resources. We can expose these people properly, publicly, in a way they can't bury. Why would you do that? This isn't your fight. You made it our fight when you saved me 2 years ago. And now you're under our protection. That means we eliminate threats to you. Permanently. Alexis studied him. You've changed. 2 years ago you were this scared kid with a head wound. Now you're a killer? I was going to say dangerous. She shifted in the bed, wincing. What happened to you? Jiho thought about how to answer that. About Hana's blood on his hands and the months of brutal training that followed. About learning that love made you weak and sentiment got people killed. About becoming exactly what his father needed him to be, a weapon without hesitation. I grew up, he said finally. Life in my world doesn't leave much room for innocence. You either get hard or get dead. That's a sad way to live. It's the only way to survive. Is it? Alexis's voice was soft. Because I've been running and fighting for 2 years, and I'm not hard. I'm still angry about my father. Still scared sometimes. Still hope that maybe one day I can stop looking over my shoulder. Being tough doesn't mean killing everything soft inside you. No, it just means not letting the soft parts get people killed. Jiho stood abruptly. The conversation was getting too close to places he'd locked away. Rest. Recover. When you're strong enough, we'll talk strategy. Figure out how to use that flash drive to end this. Jiho, she stopped him at the door. Thank you. For coming. For saving me. Even if you think it's just a paying back a debt. Thank you. He nodded and left before he had to respond. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall and breathed deeply. His hands were shaking again. Just slightly, but enough to notice. Amara had been right. He cared about Alexis. More than debt required. More than was smart. And that terrified him more than any enemy ever could. 3 days passed. Alexis healed faster than expected. The benefit of being young and having survived worse. She graduated from bed to chair to walking the hallways with just a slight limp. The burns were bandaged and healing. The ribs hurt but weren't preventing mobility. The swelling around her eye had gone down enough that she could see properly again. Jiho watched her progress with something he refused to name as relief. Minjae had set up a war room in the safe house. Screens showing news feeds, intelligence reports, financial tracking. They were hunting the people who tortured Alexis. It wasn't quick work. Military contractors covered their tracks well. But Minjae's organization had resources most criminals only dreamed of. And Amara's intelligence network, the Invisible Hand, was filling in gaps that money alone couldn't bridge. On the 4th day, Alexis was cleared for light physical activity, which was how Jiho ended up in the training room with her at 6 in the morning, both of them in workout clothes, the space around them filled with equipment and the smell of old sweat. You sure you're ready for this? Jiho asked, wrapping his hands. I've been going crazy sitting still. Alexis was stretching, testing her range of motion. My ribs are mostly healed and I need to move. Besides, I can't just sit around while you guys do all the work protecting me. That's literally the job. You rest, we protect. Not how I operate. She finished stretching and faced him. My dad started teaching me self-defense when I was 6. Krav Maga, boxing, some jujitsu. I grew up on military bases where everyone was a fighter. I'm not helpless. Didn't say you were, but you're also not at 100%. Then get me there. Alexis moved into a fighter stance. Train me, your father's style, the stuff that keeps you alive in your world. Jiho considered. Training meant proximity, meant physical contact, meant spending hours together in a space where their guards would be down. That felt dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with violence. But she was right. If people were hunting her, she needed to be able to defend herself. Relying entirely on bodyguards was how people got dead. Okay, he said, but we start slow. I'm not responsible if you tear open your stitches. Deal. They started with basics, stance, footwork, breathing. Jiho watched how she moved, looking for weaknesses and strengths. She had good instincts, probably from her father's training, but she telegraphed her strikes, pulled her punches at the last second, trained to defend, not to kill. Hit me, Jiho said, holding up his hands as targets. Alexis threw a combination. Jab, cross, hook, fast, but not committed. Again, harder. She repeated it, more power this time. You're still pulling back. You're hitting to push me away, not to hurt me. I don't want to hurt you. In a real fight, that'll get you killed. Jiho dropped his hands. The people who grabbed you, they weren't trying to scare you. They were trying to break you. You need to be ready to do the same. No hesitation, no mercy when someone comes at. You. You end them. Understood? Alexis's jaw tightened. I'm not a killer. You will be if you want to survive. Like you? The question landed like a punch. Ji-ho felt something cold settle in his chest. Yeah, like me. And that works for you? Shutting off everything except survival instinct? Never feeling anything? It keeps me breathing. But are you living? Ji-ho stared at her. No one talked to him like this. Not since Hana. Everyone in his life had learned to accept the cold, efficient version of him. The weapon his father had shaped. But Alexis was looking at him like she could still see something human underneath. It made him want to prove her wrong and beg her to keep looking at the same time. Again, he said, avoiding the question entirely. This time, hit me like you mean it. Alexis sighed but got back into stance. This time when she threw the combination, there was real power behind it. Ji-ho blocked, countered, swept her legs. She went down but rolled with it, coming back up smoothly. Better, he said, but you're still thinking too much. Stop calculating, just react. Easy for you to say. It is easy once you stop caring about the consequences. He moved toward her, throwing a slow punch she could easily block. In a fight, there's no time for morality, no space for doubt. There's just action and reaction. You hit or you get hit. Sounds exhausting. It's survival. They went back and forth like that for an hour. Ji-ho pushing her harder, Alexis adapting, learning, occasionally landing a strike that made him nod in approval. She was good. With proper training, she could be dangerous. More importantly, she was stubborn. Every time he knocked her down, she got back up. Every time he corrected her technique, she tried again. That kind of resilience couldn't be taught. You either had it or you didn't. By the end of the session, they were both sweating. Alexis was breathing hard, her ribs obviously hurting despite her attempts to hide it. Ji-ho called time. That's enough for today? You're favoring your left side. I'm fine. You're injured. There's a difference. He tossed her a water bottle. Tomorrow we'll work on defense, how to get out of holds, what to do if someone grabs you from behind. Sounds fun. Alexis drank deeply, then wiped her mouth. You're a good teacher, patient. I had good teachers. Your father? And others. Daejong taught me weapons. Hyunwoo taught me tactics. My father taught me when to use both and when to walk away. Do you ever walk away? Ji-ho thought about all the fights he'd been in over the past 2 years. The ones he'd started and the ones thrust upon him. Not often. Walking away in my world looks like weakness. And weakness gets exploited. That's exhausting. You said that already. Because it's still true. Alexis sat on the bench, stretching her legs. Don't you ever want to just be normal, go to college, have a regular job, worry about normal things like rent and relationships instead of survival? I tried normal once. It got someone killed. The words came out before he could stop them. Alexis looked at him sharply. The girl from 2 years ago, the one you mentioned once? I didn't mention anyone. You did, in the car, when I asked what happened to you. You said life. But there was something in your voice, something that sounded like grief. Ji-ho's jaw clenched. He didn't talk about Hana, not with anyone, but Alexis was looking at him with those 2 knowing eyes, the same way Amara did when she could see through his walls. Her name was Hana, he said finally. I was 18. She was the first girl I ever loved, and she was Song family. Your enemies. Yeah, she was sent to get close to me, spy on my family. I didn't know. The memories came flooding back. Campus in autumn, her laugh, the way she looked at him like he was someone worth loving. By the time I found out who she really was, I was already in love and she'd fallen for me too, which made everything worse. What happened? Her father tried to kill me. She saved me instead. Took the bullets herself. Ji-ho's voice was flat, emotionless. That was the only way to tell the story. She died in my arms, and I learned that love in my world is just another weapon people use against you. Alexis was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "That's not what love is." What? Love isn't a weapon. What her father did, that was manipulation, control. Love is what she did, choosing you over her family, taking those bullets. That's what real love looks like. Sacrifice. And look where it got her. Alive in your memory, changing how you see the world, making you careful about who you let in. Alexis met his eyes. She loved you enough to die for you. That's not a weakness. That's the strongest thing a person can do. Jiho wanted to argue, wanted to explain that Hana's sacrifice had taught him to never let anyone that close again. That caring meant vulnerability, and vulnerability meant death. But the words stuck in his throat. Because part of him, the part he'd been trying to kill for 2 years, knew Alexis was right. "We should clean up," he said, standing abruptly. "My father wants to debrief on the flash drive, figure out how to use it." "Jiho," Alexis stood too. "I'm sorry. About Hana, about what you went through. But you know she wouldn't want you to shut down like this, right? To stop feeling anything?" "You didn't know her." "No, but I know what it's like to lose someone and think the only way to survive is to go numb. I did that for 6 months after my dad died, stopped caring about anything. And you know what? It didn't make the pain go away. It just made everything else disappear too. The good with the bad. Maybe there isn't any good in my world. There's you." She said it simply, like it was obvious. "You saved me. You're training me so I can protect myself. You're risking your family to help a stranger. That's good. That matters." Jiho didn't know how to respond to that. So he did what he always did when emotions got too close. He walked away. But this time, Alexis's words followed him. "There's you." Like he was still worth something beyond killing. Like he was still human. Thank you for watching. If you're loving part 5, hit that like button and drop a comment telling us Team Jiho and Alexis or nah. And don't forget to subscribe because the story gets wilder from here. We're halfway through and the real twist hasn't even happened yet. You don't want to miss it. 2 weeks passed in a strange kind of routine. Mornings meant training, Jiho pushing Alexis harder each day, teaching her how to fight dirty, how to kill if necessary. Afternoons meant strategy sessions with Minjae, analyzing the flash drive data, building a case against the military officials. Evenings meant security briefings, reviewing threats, staying 10 steps ahead of enemies who were hunting them. And late at night, when everyone else was asleep, Jiho and Alexis would end up in the kitchen, neither willing to admit they were seeking each other out. Both claiming insomnia brought them there. Those quiet hours were when they actually talked. About life before, about families and dreams, and the people they'd been before violence reshaped them. Alexis told stories about growing up on military bases, about her father teaching her to shoot when she was 12, about her mother who'd never recovered from losing her husband. Jiho talked about his childhood, about Amara saving him when he was 8, about his father trying to shelter him from the organization, while also preparing him to lead it someday. They didn't talk about Hana. They didn't talk about the attraction building between them, the way training sessions left them breathless for reasons beyond exertion, the way their hands would linger when passing equipment, the way Alexis looked at him sometimes like she could see past the walls he'd built. But it was there, growing, undeniable. On the 15th day, everything changed. Jiho was in the security room, reviewing footage from external cameras, when every alarm in the building screamed to life simultaneously. Red lights flashed, security protocols activated, and on the monitors, he saw them. 6 vehicles, military grade, surrounding the building, not attacking, just waiting. "Contact," Daijung's voice over the comm. "Multiple hostiles. Perimeter breach attempt on the south side. They're testing our response." Minjae's voice cut in. "Everyone to defensive positions. This is not a drill. Jiho, get Alexis to the panic room." Jiho was already moving. He took the stairs 3 at a time, weapon drawn, adrenaline sharpening every sense. Alexis was in her room, already dressed, already aware something was wrong. "They found us," she said, not a question. "Yeah, Come on, there's a panic room on the lower level. How many? At least 30, maybe more. Jiho led her into the hallway, hand on her back, scanning for threats. This building is designed to withstand a siege. We'll be fine. You're a terrible liar. I'm an excellent liar, just not with you. They made it to the stairwell. Above them, Jiho could hear gunfire starting, controlled bursts, his father's men returning fire. The attack wasn't a stealth operation. This was a message. We know where you are. We can reach you. The panic room was behind a false wall in the sub-basement. Jiho pressed his palm to the biometric scanner and the wall slid open, revealing a reinforced steel chamber with enough supplies to survive a week-long siege. Get inside. What about you? I'm going back up. They need every fighter. No. Alexis grabbed his arm. No, you're not dying for me. I'm not worth that. That's not your choice to make. Jiho, I'm not losing anyone else? The words came out raw, unfiltered. I lost Hana because I wasn't strong enough, wasn't fast enough, wasn't there when it mattered. I'm not making that mistake again, so get in the panic room and stay there until we clear the building. I can fight, you train me. Not well enough, not for this. Jiho pushed her gently toward the door. Please, just let me do this. Let me keep you safe. Alexis looked at him for a long moment. Then she grabbed his face with both hands and kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was desperate and fierce and tasted like adrenaline and fear and something neither of them had admitted yet. Jiho froze for half a second, then kissed her back, one hand tangling in her short hair, the other pulling her closer. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. Come back, Alexis said. Don't you dare die up there. We have things to figure out. Yeah, Jiho's voice was rough. We do. He sealed the panic room door and ran back up the stairs, his heart pounding for reasons that had nothing to do with impending combat. His lips still burned from her kiss. His hands still remembered the shape of her against him. Dangerous, a voice in his head whispered. This is dangerous. But for the first time in 2 years, Jiho didn't care about safety. He cared about getting back to her. The third floor was chaos. Minjae's men had formed defensive positions at every entrance, laying down suppressing fire. The attackers weren't breaching yet. They were testing, probing, looking for weaknesses. Jiho found his father behind an overturned desk, rifle in hand, directing the defense with cold precision. When Minjae saw his son, something flickered across his face. Relief, maybe, or pride. Status? Jiho asked, taking position beside him. They're not coming in yet. They're waiting for something. Minjae fired off 3 rounds, forcing an attacker back into cover. This feels wrong, too organized, too patient. Maybe they're hoping we'll surrender. Alexis? Maybe. Minjae ejected an empty magazine, loaded a fresh one. But I don't think they're military contractors. Look at their equipment. That's high-end private security, the kind governments use for deniable operations. Jiho looked closer. His father was right. These weren't mercenaries. These were professionals, which meant someone with serious resources wanted Alexis dead. The flash drive, Jiho realized. They're not here to grab her. They're here to retrieve the evidence. And eliminate anyone who's seen it. Minjae's expression darkened. Which means we're all targets now. Before Jiho could respond, an explosion rocked the building. Not close, maybe 2 floors up, but powerful enough to rattle windows and send dust cascading from the ceiling. They're breaching, Daijung reported over the comm. 4th floor, east side, multiple hostiles entering through the blast point. Fall back to the 3rd floor, Minjae ordered. Consolidate our position. Make them fight for every room. The battle became a brutal game of room-to-room warfare. Jiho moved with his father's team, clearing corners, laying ambushes, turning every hallway into a kill zone. The attackers were good, well-trained, well-equipped, coordinated, but they were fighting in a building designed to be defended, against people who knew every angle and shadow. Jiho lost count of how many he killed. 6, 8, maybe 10. They just kept coming, wave after wave, professional and relentless. And then Jiho realized something was wrong. They're hurting us, he said into his comm. They're pushing us toward the center of the building. It's not a siege, it's a trap. Confirmed, Min Jae's voice came back. They've got explosives in the stairwells. If we try to retreat to the lower levels, they'll bring the whole structure down on us. Which meant the panic room, meant Alexis was potentially buried under tons of concrete and steel if they triggered those charges. We need to end this, Jiho said. Now, before they can detonate. Agreed. But how? Jiho thought fast. Their enemies were professional, cautious, methodical. They wouldn't risk themselves unnecessarily, which meant somewhere, probably in one of those vehicles outside, there was a command element. Someone coordinating the attack. Someone with a detonator. I'm going outside, Jiho said. That's suicide. It's the only way. They're expecting us to defend. They're not expecting someone to come at them. Jiho was already moving toward the south windows. Cover me for 30 seconds. That's all I need. Jiho, I'm getting her out of here, whatever it takes. Jiho didn't wait for approval. He fired through the window, shattering it, then dove through the opening. 3-story drop, but there was a fire escape 2 feet to the left. He caught the railing, swung his momentum, landed hard on the metal platform. Bullets sparked off the metal around him, but he was already moving, taking the stairs 3 at a time, ground level. The street was lit by vehicle headlights and muzzle flashes. Jiho counted 6 vehicles like he'd seen on the monitors. 5 were armored SUVs full of shooters. The 6th was a command vehicle, bigger, more equipment, antenna arrays on the roof. That was his target. He sprinted across the open ground, every instinct screaming that this was insane. Bullets kicked up concrete at his feet. Someone shouted orders. But Jiho was moving too fast, too unpredictably. He fired on the run, taking down 2 shooters who tried to intercept him. The command vehicle's back door started to close. Jiho threw himself forward, catching the edge, pulling himself inside before it could seal. 3 people inside, 2 technicians, and 1 man in an expensive suit. The suit turned, eyes widening, reaching for a weapon. Jiho shot him in the head. The technician screamed. Jiho ignored them, grabbing the detonator from the dead man's hand. He smashed it against the vehicle's wall, shattering the electronics, then kicked open the back door and rolled out before anyone could stop him. More gunfire. Jiho ran toward the building, firing behind him without looking, emptying his magazine to buy himself seconds. He made it to the entrance, dove through, and the world exploded. Not the building, the command vehicle. Someone had triggered its self-destruct rather than let it fall into enemy hands. The explosion lit up the night, sent shockwaves through the street, and suddenly the coordinated attack dissolved into chaos. Command vehicle destroyed, Jiho reported through his comm, breathing hard. Threat neutralized. How? Min Jae's voice was stunned. Never mind. All units, press the attack. The enemy's command structure is gone. Drive them back. It took another 20 minutes to clear the building and the surrounding street. By the time it was over, 14 of the attackers were dead. The rest had retreated. Min Jae's people had taken casualties too. 3 dead, 7 wounded. But they'd held. Jiho went straight to the panic room, his hands shaking as he opened it. Alexis was inside, alive, unharmed, and the relief that crashed through him was almost painful. You're okay, she said, stepping out, hands immediately on him, checking for injuries. You're bleeding. It's not mine. Jiho pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly, breathing in the scent of her hair. You're safe. That's all that matters. What you did out there, I saw it on the security feeds. That was insane. Had to be done. You could have died, but I didn't. Jiho pulled back enough to look at her. I told you I'd come back. I don't break promises. Alexis kissed him again, softer this time, but no less intense. And Jiho kissed her back, letting himself feel something other than cold efficiency, letting himself want something beyond survival. When they finally broke apart, Min Jae was standing in the doorway, blood on his suit, looking exhausted and grim. We can't stay here, he said. They know this location. We need to move, all of us. Where? Jiho asked. I have a place, more secure. But Jiho, his father looked between him and Alexis. This attack wasn't random. They threw 30 operators at us. That's not a retrieval mission. That's a kill team. Whatever's on that flash drive, it's big enough that someone's willing to start a war to keep it buried. Then we go public, Alexis said. Release the evidence. Take away their motivation to kill me. It's not that simple. Military conspiracies take time to prosecute. Investigations, trials. During all that, you're still exposed, still vulnerable. Minjae's expression was serious. You need permanent protection, which means you need to disappear. New identity, new country, complete separation from anything that could lead them back to you. No, Jiho's voice was flat. She's not running anymore. Then what's your solution? We can't fight the United States military. We expose them so thoroughly they can't risk coming after her. We don't just leak the evidence. We make it public, get media coverage, create enough scrutiny that killing her would be more suspicious than letting her live. That's risky. Everything's risky, but I'm not letting her spend the rest of her life running. Minjae studied his son for a long moment. Then he looked at Alexis. Is this what you want? To go public? There's no going back once we start. I've been running for 2 years, Alexis said. I'm tired of it. Let's end this. For my father. For everyone they've hurt. Let's end it. All right, Minjae nodded. Then we do this properly. Full media blitz, congressional contacts, UN human rights observers. We turn this into a scandal so big they can't bury it. It'll take a few months to organize. Can you handle a few more months of hiding? If it means finally being free? Yeah, I can handle it. Minjae turned to leave, then paused. Jiho, a word. Jiho followed his father into the hallway, leaving Alexis with Hyunwoo. Minjae waited until they were out of earshot before speaking. You care about her. She saved my life. That's not what I asked. Minjae's eyes were knowing. You care about her, more than debt, more than protection. I saw how you held her just now, how you looked at her. So what if I do? So be careful. The last time you cared about someone, it ended in tragedy. And this situation is more complicated than a rival family. These are people who can make you disappear legally, who have governments on their side. I know the risks. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're about to make the same mistake twice, falling for someone who's surrounded by danger. It's not the same. Jiho's jaw clenched. Hana was sent to trap me. Alexis is just someone who needs help. For now, but what happens in 6 months when the threat is neutralized? When she doesn't need protection anymore? She's American, Jiho. She has a whole life waiting for her back in the States. Family, friends, a future that doesn't involve Korean gang politics. I know that. Then don't get too attached, because when this is over, she's going to leave, and you're going to have to let her. Minjae's voice softened slightly. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to protect you from another heartbreak. I can protect myself. Can you? Because right now it looks like you're falling for her, and that's a luxury we can't afford, not with everything at stake. Jiho wanted to argue, wanted to say his father was wrong, but the truth was, Minjae was probably right. Alexis would leave. She didn't belong in his world, and letting himself care about her was just setting himself up for another loss. But for the first time in 2 years, Jiho didn't care about being smart. He cared about feeling something. And Alexis made him feel alive, even if it meant getting hurt again. 3 months passed. Minjae orchestrated the evidence release like a military campaign. The flash drive data went to 3 major news organizations simultaneously: the New York Times, Washington Post, and The Guardian. Congressional oversight committees received copies. UN investigators received copies. Within 48 hours, the scandal exploded across international media. High-ranking military officials arrested, defense contractors investigated, billions in illegal weapons deals exposed. It was bigger than anyone had anticipated. Corruption that reached into the highest levels of government. And through it all, Alexis stayed in Seoul, protected by Minjae's organization, hidden while the storm raged. Those 3 months were strange, dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with external threats. Because Jiho and Alexis were together constantly, training, planning, existing in the same space, and the attraction between them had moved from undeniable to inevitable. They tried to keep it professional. They failed repeatedly. The first time they slept together was after a particularly brutal training session. Jiho had her pinned on the mat, teaching her how to escape from a hold. But then she'd looked up at him, breathing hard, and something in the air shifted. He'd meant to pull away. Instead, he'd kissed her. What followed was desperate and intense. Two people who'd been holding back for too long finally giving in. They made love on the training room floor, all the carefully maintained distance between them dissolving into heat and need, and the desperate human want to feel connected to someone. Afterward, lying tangled together, Alexis had traced the scars on his chest. We shouldn't do this again. Probably not. This complicates everything. Yeah, I'm going to leave when this is over, go back to America, try to rebuild my life. I know. So this is just temporary. Is that what you want it to be? Alexis had looked at him. I don't know what I want anymore, except you. Right now, is that enough? For now, Jiho had said, kissing her again. It's enough. They'd kept it secret from Minjai, kept it quiet from the household, but Amara knew. She always knew. She'd seen the way Jiho smiled now when Alexis was around, the way he'd softened, just slightly, like ice beginning to thaw. She's good for you, Amara said one evening, catching Jiho alone. I haven't seen you this alive since before Hana died. It's temporary. Doesn't have to be. She's going back to America when this is over. Only if you let her. Amara had squeezed his shoulder. Sometimes the best thing that happens to us is the thing we least expect. Don't push her away just because you're scared. But Jiho was scared, terrified actually, because every day he spent with Alexis made him want things he'd convinced himself he didn't deserve. A future, a partner, someone who saw him as human instead of a weapon. And then the 3 months ended. The investigations concluded. Arrests were made. The people who'd been hunting Alexis were either in custody or discredited. She was free. Safe. The nightmare was over, which meant there was no reason for her to stay. The celebration dinner was Minjai's idea, a way to mark the end of the threat, the success of their strategy, and, though no one said it, Alexis's impending departure. It was held in the penthouse the first time she'd been there. Amara cooked, which was rare enough to be an event. Little Arya, now almost 3 years old, ran circles around the adults, her curly hair bouncing with each step. Alexis fit into the chaos seamlessly. She helped Amara in the kitchen, played with Arya, laughed at Minjai's dry observations about American politics. She looked happy, relaxed, free in a way Jiho hadn't seen before. And all Jiho could think about was that she was leaving. When's your flight? Minjai asked over dinner, cutting straight to the question everyone was avoiding. 3 days. Alexis's smile faltered slightly. I need to see my mom. She's been worried sick, and I have to figure out everything. What comes next? Maybe finish college, get a normal job, try to have a normal life. You're welcome back anytime, Amara said warmly. You're family now, whether you're here or in America. Thank you for everything. I wouldn't have survived without all of you. The conversation moved on, but Jiho barely heard it. 3 days, then she'd be gone. Back to a world where she belonged, leaving him in one where he didn't. After dinner, he found her on the balcony, looking out over Seoul's glittering skyline. Beautiful city, she said without turning. I'm going to miss it. You don't have to leave. Yes, I do. My mom needs me. My life is there. Your life could be here. Jiho moved beside her, close enough to touch. If you wanted. Jiho, Alexis turned to face him. What are we doing? Really? I don't know, but I don't want it to end. We knew it was temporary, from the beginning. Did we? Or did we just tell ourselves that because we were scared? Alexis looked at him for a long moment. What are you asking me? Stay. Not forever, not if you don't want to, but Stay longer, give us time to figure out what this is. And then what? I become some kind of, what, mafia girlfriend? Live in safe houses, constantly looking over my shoulder for the next threat? It wouldn't be like that. Yes, it would, because that's your world, Jiho, and I respect it. I respect you, but I don't know if I can live in it long term. Then what was the last 3 months? Survival, gratitude, and yeah, something real. But real doesn't always mean forever. Jiho felt something crack inside him. So that's it? You're just leaving? I have to. Your mom will understand if you need more time. This is about you being scared. Scared that if you stay, you'll get pulled into something you can't walk away from. Maybe I am scared. Is that so wrong? Alexis's voice rose. You watched someone you love die in your arms, Jiho. You know what it costs to be close to people in your world. Why would I sign up for that? Because I'm not asking you to die for me. I'm asking you to live with me. For how long? Until the next enemy shows up? Until your father's organization faces the next crisis? Alexis shook her head. I've been running for 2 years. I'm tired. I just want peace. Normal. A life where I'm not constantly prepared to fight. I can give you that. No, you can't, because you're always going to be who you are, and I'm always going to be who I am. And maybe that's enough for right now, but eventually, she trailed off. Eventually what? Eventually I'll want things you can't give me. A family without fear, a home without armed guards, a future where our kids don't grow up learning to kill before they learn to read. The word kids hung between them. Neither had said it before. The idea of a future that concrete. I want those things too, Jiho said quietly. But you can't have them. Not in your world, and I can't live in your world. So where does that leave us? Jiho didn't have an answer. Because she was right. His world was violence and danger and constant threat. It had killed Hana. It would eventually hurt Alexis too, in one way or another. 3 days, Alexis said softly. Let's just have 3 more days. No fighting, no talking about the future. Just us. Can we do that? Jiho wanted to argue, wanted to convince her she was wrong, but he could see in her eyes that her mind was made up. Yeah, he said finally, 3 days. They spent those days pretending they weren't saying goodbye, pretending 3 months of falling in love could be neatly packaged and left behind. They trained together, ate together, made love like they were trying to memorize each other. On the last night, Alexis fell asleep in his arms. Jiho stayed awake, watching her breathe, trying to memorize the curve of her face in moonlight. When dawn came, he'd have to let her go. It was the right thing to do, the smart thing, but it felt like dying anyway. 1 year later. Jiho was 21 years old and had convinced himself he was fine. The year after Alexis left had been manageable. He'd thrown himself into work for his father's organization, taken on more responsibility, made connections with other families, proven himself as more than just the heir, as a leader in his own right. He didn't think about Alexis. Not often. Only every day. She'd gone back to America, enrolled in Georgetown University, reconnected with her mother. They'd texted for a few weeks after she left. Then the texts became sporadic, and then they stopped. Not dramatically, just faded. It was better that way. Cleaner. Jiho told himself that constantly. And then, 6 months after she left, he'd met someone new. Sort of. Yoon Sera was the daughter of one of Minjai's allies, Yoon Tae-jin, who controlled most of the shipping ports in Busan. The Yoon family had helped during the Song family war, provided resources and intelligence. Minjai owed them, which meant Jiho owed them. He'd met Sarah during a business dinner. She was beautiful in a cold, calculated way. 22 years old, educated in Switzerland, fluent in 5 languages. She'd made it clear from the first meeting that she was interested in him. Not subtly, directly. I think we'd be good together, she'd said over dinner. Our families aligned, both of us understanding the business, both of us. compatible. Ji-ho had been polite but distant. He wasn't interested in arranged marriages or political alliances masquerading as romance. But Sarah was persistent. She'd show up at family gatherings, send gifts, call to check in. And Minjae had encouraged it, not because he wanted to force Ji-ho into anything, but because the Yoon alliance was valuable. Then, 8 months ago, Ji-ho had needed help. A situation had gone sideways, a rival family attempting to kidnap him for leverage. Sarah had been there, coincidentally, and had helped him escape. Given him a safe house to hide in, treated his injuries. "You owe me now," she'd said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Name your price. Just remember, when I need help someday, I'll call and you'll come. Deal?" Deal. It had seemed harmless. A favor for a favor. That's how their world worked. Ji-ho should have known better. The engagement party was being planned when Alexis called. Ji-ho was in a meeting with his father when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. "Hello?" Ji-ho? Alexis's voice. He hadn't heard it in person for a year, but he recognized it instantly. I know this is random. I probably shouldn't call, but I wanted you to hear it from me. First? Hear what? I'm coming back to Seoul for grad school. Georgetown has an exchange program with Yonsei. I'll be there for 2 years. And I know you've probably moved on and this is weird, but I wanted to tell you before I just showed up and... You're coming back? Ji-ho's heart was pounding. Yeah. Next month. I know it's been a year. I know things are probably different. I wanted you to know. In case you didn't want to see me. I'd understand. No, yes, Ji-ho stood, walking to the window, needing space. I want to see you. Of course I do. Okay, good. That's good. A pause. How have you been? Fine. Busy, you know. Yeah, me too. Another pause. Is there someone? It's complicated. Oh, okay, I shouldn't have asked. Alexis, I have to go. Class starts in 5, but I'll text you when I land. Maybe we can get coffee or something? Yeah, I'd like that. She hung up. Ji-ho stood there, phone in hand, everything inside him in chaos. Alexis was coming back. After a year of convincing himself he was fine, she was coming back. Minjae was watching him from across the room. That was her. Yeah. What did she want? She's moving back to Seoul. For school. His father's expression was carefully neutral. And how do you feel about that? I don't know. Ji-ho turned back to the window. I'm supposed to be moving on. Sarah and I are getting closer. Her father is talking about formal alliances. Marriage. You don't love Sarah. I don't need to love her. I need to secure alliances, build the organization, do what's best for the family. Is that what you want? Or what you think you should want? Ji-ho didn't answer. Because he didn't know anymore. For a year he'd been going through motions, playing a role, being the perfect heir, and now Alexis was coming back and everything he'd carefully constructed felt like it was made of paper. Give yourself time, Minjae said. Don't make decisions today about feelings that are a year old. But Ji-ho knew it was too late. The moment he'd heard Alexis's voice, he'd known the truth. He hadn't moved on. He'd just been waiting. And now, she was coming back. 6 weeks later. The cafe was neutral ground. Public, casual, safe. Ji-ho arrived first, nervous in a way he hadn't been in years. He changed his shirt 3 times, rehearsed what to say, felt like an idiot for caring so much. And then, Alexis walked in and everything he'd planned to say evaporated. She looked different. Hair slightly longer, more confident in her movement, but the same smile, the same eyes that saw too much. Hi, she said, sitting across from him. Hi. Awkward silence. Then they both laughed. This is weird, Alexis said. Yeah. Good weird or bad weird? Good. Definitely good. Ji-ho managed to smile. You look great. So do you, more grown up somehow. I'm 21. That's technically adult. Technically. she ordered. Coffee, and they spent an hour catching up. Careful conversation, avoiding the big topics, talking about school and family and everything except the thing between them. Finally, as they were leaving, Alexis said, "I meant what I said on the phone. If you're with someone, I understand. I'm not here to complicate your life. You're not complicating anything. Jiho, Sarah isn't, we're not." He struggled for words. "It's political. An alliance. Nothing like what you and I had." Had. Alexis caught the past tense. "So it's over, what we had?" "Is it? You're the one who left." "I had to, for me, for us. We both knew it wasn't sustainable long term. And now? Now I'm back, and I don't know what that means." Alexis met his eyes. "But I missed you every day, and I know that's selfish after I was the one who left. But it's true. I missed you too." The admission felt like surrender. "I tried not to, tried to move on, but you're kind of hard to forget." "So, what do we do?" "I don't know. Coffee again? Slowly figure this out?" "I'd like that." They started seeing each other regularly. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became late-night walks along the Han River. They were careful, slow, both aware that they'd burned each other once. But the connection was still there. Stronger, maybe, for having survived distance and time. After 2 months, they slept together again. After 4 months, Alexis had basically moved into Jiho's apartment. After 6 months, they were talking about the future again. And that's when everything fell apart. The call came at midnight. Jiho was asleep with Alexis curled against him when his phone rang. Sarah's name on the screen. "Hello?" Jiho, her voice was panicked, breathless. "I need help, please, you promised." "What's wrong?" "I've been attacked, my apartment. They're still here. I'm hiding, but I don't know how long." The sound of crashing. Sarah screaming. Then the line went dead. Jiho was out of bed instantly, pulling on clothes, grabbing his weapon. Alexis sat up, alert. "What's wrong?" "Sarah's in trouble. Someone's attacking her." "Call your father. Send a team." "She called me. I owe her. I have to go." "Jiho, wait." But he was already out the door. He drove too fast through Seoul's empty streets, hands tight on the wheel, every instinct screaming that something was wrong. But he'd made a promise. Debts had to be honored. Sarah's apartment building was dark. No signs of struggle. No broken windows. The front door was unlocked. Jiho drew his weapon, moving carefully through the lobby. Too quiet. Too still. Where were the security guards? Where was the evidence of an attack? He took the stairs to Sarah's floor. The hallway was empty. Her apartment door was ajar. "Sarah!" he called, weapon up. "In here!" Her voice came from the bedroom. Soft. Not panicked anymore. Jiho pushed the door open and immediately knew he'd made a mistake. The bedroom was undamaged. No signs of struggle. Candles were lit. Music playing softly. And Sarah was standing by the bed, wearing a silk robe, holding 2 glasses of wine. "I'm so glad you came," she said, smiling. "I was worried you wouldn't." There was no attack. It wasn't a question. There was no attack, she confirmed. "But you came anyway, because you're honorable, because you keep your promises. That's what I love about you." "Sarah, I know you're with her. That American girl, Alexis." Sarah's smile didn't waver. "But she doesn't understand you like I do. Doesn't understand our world. What we could build together." "I'm leaving." Jiho turned toward the door. "Have one drink. You came all this way. The least I can do is thank you properly." "No, thank you needed. I'm going home." "Please, just one drink, then I'll never bother you again. I promise." There was something in her voice. Desperate. Fragile. Against his better judgment, Jiho turned back. "One drink, then I'm leaving and we're going to talk about boundaries." "Of course." Sarah handed him the glass. "To friendship." "To friendship." Jiho drank, watching her over the rim. The wine was expensive. Smooth. It burned slightly going down. See? Sarah said. That wasn't so bad. Jiho's vision blurred. Just slightly. He blinked, tried to focus. What? The wine was drugged, nothing dangerous, just something to help you relax. Stop fighting what we both know is inevitable. Jiho stumbled, the room tilting. He tried to reach for his weapon, but his hands wouldn't cooperate. No. Shh. It's okay. I'll take care of you. Sarah was suddenly there, supporting his weight, guiding him toward the bed. You'll see. By morning, you'll understand. We're meant to be together. Jiho tried to fight, tried to stay conscious, but the drug was strong and his body betrayed him. The last thing he remembered before darkness took him was Sarah's hands on his chest, her voice saying, "Finally." When Jiho woke, sunlight was streaming through unfamiliar windows. His head felt like it was full of cotton. His body ached in ways that had nothing to do with training. And he was naked. Sarah was beside him, also naked, smiling at him, like they shared a beautiful secret. Good morning. Memory hit in fragments. The call, the wine, fighting unconsciousness, and then nothing. Complete blank. Horror crashed through him. What did you do? What we both wanted. Sarah stretched lazily. You were amazing. So passionate. I knew you felt the same way I did. You just needed permission to admit it. I couldn't have. Jiho was frantically trying to remember. But there was nothing. Just darkness. You drugged me. I helped you relax, and you were very enthusiastic once you did. Don't you remember? He didn't. That was the problem. Complete blackout from the moment the drug hit until waking up now. Hours missing. His body telling a story his mind couldn't recall. Get dressed, Sarah said, kissing his shoulder. I'll make breakfast. We should celebrate. Celebrate what? Us. Finally being together. Oh, and Jiho? She smiled, bright and terrible. Last night was incredible. The way you touched me. The things you said. So intense. So passionate. I'll never forget it. Jiho felt like he was going to be sick. He grabbed his clothes, dressed with shaking hands. Nothing happened between us. You drugged me. That's not how I remember it, and I have video if you'd like proof. Video. From the security camera, you can see everything. How willing you were, how much you enjoyed it. Sarah's voice was sweet, poisonous. But don't worry, I'll keep it private, just between us. Unless you try to deny what we shared. Then I might have to show people. Prove that you wanted this as much as I did. Jiho understood then. Trapped. She'd planned this perfectly. Drugged him. Recorded what happened while he was unconscious. And now had leverage. I love Alexis. You love the idea of her, but she doesn't fit your world. I do. My family, your family, we're meant to unite. And now we have, in every way that matters. Jiho left without another word. He drove home in a daze, trying to piece together what happened. But there was nothing. Just the sick certainty that Sarah had violated him in ways he couldn't remember. Alexis was waiting at his apartment. One look at his face and she knew something was wrong. What happened? Sarah called, said she was being attacked. It was a trap. The words felt like broken glass. She drugged me, and then I don't remember, but when I woke up, he didn't need to finish. Alexis understood. She raped you, not a question. A statement. She says I was willing, says she has a video proving it. You were unconscious, that's not consent. Alexis's hands were gentle on his face. This isn't your fault. I should have known, should have seen it coming. She planned it, manipulated you, used your honor against you. Alexis pulled him into a hug. We'll figure this out. Get evidence, prove what she did. How? She has video. My family owes hers. It's my word against hers and mine is worth less. They sat together, trying to figure out what to do. And then, 3 days later, Sarah showed up at Minjai's office with her father and a doctor's report. I'm pregnant, she announced, smiling at Jiho like he should be happy. 6 weeks. We're going to be parents. The doctor's report looked legitimate. Positive pregnancy test. Estimated conception date matching the night Jiho couldn't remember. And suddenly, Sarah's father was talking about marriage, about uniting families, about honor and obligation. My daughter carries your grandchild, Yoon Tae-jin said to Min-jae. This is a blessing. Our families joined through blood, exactly as it should be. Min-jae looked at his son. Jiho's face was carefully blank, but his father knew him well enough to see the panic underneath. We'll need time, Min-jae said carefully. To verify, to plan. Verify? Sarah's father's voice went cold. You doubt my daughter's word? I doubt the timing, I doubt the circumstances, and I won't see my son trapped into marriage without understanding exactly what happened. What happened is that they spent the night together and now there are consequences, honorable consequences. Yoon's hand moved to his weapon. Your son will marry my daughter, or our alliance ends, and other families will know that the Kang family doesn't honor their obligations. That sounds like a threat. It's a promise, marry them, or face the consequences. After they left, Min-jae turned to Jiho. Tell me the truth, all of it. Jiho told him everything. The drugging, the blackout, waking up naked with no memory, Sarah's claims, the video threat. You were raped. Min-jae's voice was ice. And now she's using pregnancy to trap you. We need to prove she's lying. How? She has a doctor's report. Positive tests. Everything looks legitimate. Because she planned it, bought a positive test from someone who's actually pregnant, found a corrupt doctor to falsify records. She's been planning this for months. Maybe longer. Min-jae's expression was calculating. We'll need time to investigate, to find proof. But in the meantime, I have to pretend to go along with it. Yes, we announce an engagement, buy ourselves 3 months to expose her lie. Can you do that? Jiho thought about Alexis, about the life they'd been building, about losing her again, this time to a lie he couldn't fight. I don't have a choice. The engagement announcement was made public 3 days later. Traditional ceremony, both families present, Sarah playing the role of blushing bride-to-be perfectly. And in the back of the room, Alexis watched with a broken heart. She'd told Jiho she understood, told him she'd wait, told him they'd find proof together. But watching him stand beside Sarah, seeing his face carefully blank, something inside her cracked. After the ceremony, she found him alone. I can't watch this, she said. I know it's fake. I know you're trapped. But seeing you with her, pretending to be happy, it's killing me. I know. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. This isn't your fault. Alexis's voice was shaking. But I need space to think, to figure out if I can handle watching you marry someone else, even temporarily. Alexis, I love you. You know that. But I don't know if love is enough this time. She left. And Jiho stood there, watching her go, feeling like he was losing everything that mattered. Again, 2 weeks later. The press conference was Sarah's idea, a public announcement of her pregnancy, of the upcoming wedding, of the joining of 2 powerful families. She stood in front of cameras, one hand on her still flat stomach, smiling. Jiho and I are so happy. Our baby will be born into a family of love and strength. We can't wait to start this new chapter together. Jiho stood beside her, playing his role, but inside he was screaming. In the back of the room, Alexis watched on a monitor, and Amara stood beside her, one hand on the younger woman's shoulder. He doesn't love her, Amara said quietly. I know. He's doing this to protect his family, to buy time to prove she's lying. I know that too. Then why are you still here? Why torture yourself watching this? Alexis's voice was steady despite the tears on her face. Because I made him a promise that I'd stay, that I'd fight, that I wouldn't run this time. She looked at Amara. So I'm staying, and we're going to prove that baby isn't his. And then we're going to destroy her. Amara smiled, fierce and proud. Good, because I've been tracking Sarah for 2 weeks, and I found something interesting. She's been visiting a fertility clinic, not a regular doctor, a fertility specialist. So? So she's not pregnant. She's planning to become pregnant, which means the positive test. Fake. The doctor's report? Forged, and we're going to prove it. How? By forcing her hand, making her take a real pregnancy test, in front of witnesses she can't pay off. Amara's eyes were cold. Minjai can demand it, as a condition of the marriage. Medical verification for the family records. She'll refuse. Then she exposes herself as a liar, and if she agrees, we'll prove she's not pregnant at all. Amara squeezed Alexis's shoulder. Trust us. We're going to get him back, for both of you. On the monitor, the press conference was ending. Sarah was kissing Jiho's cheek for the cameras. He stood still, enduring it, his face a mask. But Alexis knew him well enough to see the truth underneath. He was trapped, terrified, and hating every second. How long? Alexis asked. How long until we can prove it? 2 weeks, maybe less. We're tracking down the woman she bought the positive test from, getting statements from clinic workers, building a case. And if Sarah realizes what we're doing? Then we move faster. Amara's voice was steel. But one way or another this ends. I've watched my son lose one love to violence. I'm not watching him lose another to manipulation. Alexis looked at the monitor one more time. Jiho was leaving the press conference, alone, his shoulders tight with tension. She wanted to run to him, to tell him they'd find a way through this. But for now, all she could do was wait, and plan, and trust that the family who'd saved her life could save their son's future. The wedding was scheduled for 3 months from now. The lie would be exposed in 2 weeks, and the real battle was only beginning. To be continued in Part 6. We've reached the end of Part 5, but this story is far from over. Hit that subscribe button right now because Part 6 is where everything explodes. Will Amara and Alexis expose Sarah's lie before the wedding? Will Jiho find proof of what really happened that night? And what happens when a woman obsessed enough to drug and trap a man realizes her perfect plan is falling apart? Drop your theories in the comments. Team Alexis or Team Sarah? If you say Sarah, we need to talk. And tell us, what would you do if you were Jiho in this situation? Let us know. This is Afro-Korean Story Hub, where the stories hit different. Part 6 coming soon. Don't miss it.